No judgment here. Take your time.
JC here with Higher Talks. Break the bubble of people not wanting to interact with people right now. Don't know why. By asking 3 very deep but fun questions and let them think, because you never know. Life is about experience. Who knows? Might be exactly what you need to hear. Trust. I'm so excited. Let's elevate.
Hey guys, JC here with Higher Talks. We are so blessed today. We have a really amazing guest, a brother of mine. He's doing some amazing things. I'm gonna let him introduce himself in 1 or 2 sentences. Duane Clemens.
How you guys doing? Thanks for having me, JC. It's always great to be here with you. I love sharing about my purpose and my calling, and I'm in non-invasive drug-free healthcare. But most people know me from my former career as a defensive end in the NFL for 10 years with the Kansas City Chiefs, the Vikings, and the Cincinnati Bengals.
That's it. Not only does this man live an amazing life and has done so many powerful things, but now he's trying to help people who are going through that same journey have an easier journey than himself. So without further ado, he's excited. We're going to ask the 3 questions, and we're going to have some fun. What do you say, Duane?
Yeah, I can't wait. I've been waiting all week to figure out what this is going to be about.
I know. Everybody asks what the questions are, and I'm like, but then this is about being genuine to who you are and not trying to figure out what people want you to say.
Well, I'm ready to get put on the spot.
All right, let's do it. All right. The first question is, what is the soul to you?
For me, I kind of think the soul is when you start to realize like everything you go through in life has a purpose, has a meaning and a reason. And you start to realize your place in the universe, and you start to find, that everything you do has a counterpart, and there is a connection between your actions, and whether it's down the line or immediate, your soul is connected to this higher, bigger thing that all of us are connected to. And it's almost like it's inescapable, whether you understand it or you choose to live constantly in connection with it and trying to deepen that connection with it.
And so that's a great answer. And for you, how did that come about? Because there may be people out there who are resonating with what you're saying, but they're like, what do I do? Where do I go?
Well, I think for some people, you have it kind of thrown on you. And I think I grew up in a lot of adverse situations. So I had to find, the meaning in my suffering. Otherwise, my suffering kind of would have crushed me. I dealt with, heroin addicts in my home, alcoholism in my home, violence in my home, and even outside of my home, dealing with, gang members on a daily basis, dealing with drug addicts and drug dealers, and just being in an environment where I had to defend myself, and I was pretty much left on my own from a very young age. So I've always felt like there's been a higher power that has been kind of guiding me or watching over me. And, my father died when I was 3 months old. So, I don't know if I have a connection to a specific entity on the other side of the veil, as some people describe it, or if it's just the general, God, Father, Holy Ghost. I won't break it down to a specific religion, but I think almost every religion has some deity or some spiritual connection, that there's a universe beyond the living universe that we can see, touch, and feel. But it's all about the unseen and the things that we can't touch and feel, but we know they're very powerful, and they move us to do things, and they bring us in certain directions, even when we don't want to go those directions.
I agree with you 100%, especially that last part. Sometimes that whatever we're talking about, that soul gives us that nudge that we may not want to have, but know that it's best for us in the big picture.
It's like gravity, Sometimes our legs feel heavy, but then we know we need gravity to keep us on Earth, and to kind of keep everything in balance.
Great analogy. See, that wasn't too bad, right?
No, that was perfect. That was easy.
All right, cool. Next question. I want you to close your eyes.
Okay.
And by the way, for everyone who's watching, he's not driving, so it's okay for him to close his eyes. Now, if
I'm that good, I can do it all.
Oh yeah, right.
The power of the universe.
If money was no factor or obstacle, if there was nothing stopping you from living your highest excitement, what would it be? Explain it to us.
My highest excitement for just like my individual self, or like just like a worldly purpose.
However you want to take it. And by the way, you can open your eyes.
Okay. So it's between being selfish and being useful. So if money was no object, I mean, I guess the biggest thing I would want to bring to the world is health, because I kind of feel like that's my calling. If I was gonna do anything, that would be the thing I feel like I know the most about. And being able to really speak truth about health. We live in a system, in a life where there's so many healthcare system, our food production system, the way we care for our lawns and our gardens. We live in this chemical world where we have all this artificial stuff around us, whether it's the stuff we use for deodorant, whether it's the lotions we put on our bodies, whether it's even the way we treat the water that we shower with and we, wash our dogs with and bathe our kids in. We live in such a chemically fed world. I would really love to see people try to get back to a more natural way, and just understanding that there can be technology that is very synergistic with, kind of working with the world and the way energy is, and just using natural methods to clean ourselves and to rid ourselves, and to live a more balanced natural life, so we can get away from all this unnatural cancer, processed food living, processed chemical driven world that we're kind of headed towards. And, just try to get back to understanding like, hey, we need to use technology to simplify our lives, not just to kind of keep trying to make it so easy that we have to complicate it and make everything disposable, and just kind of keep trashing the world, and trying to being in this mindset of everything should be thrown away and everything should be, you know, disposable, and not really understanding how much of an impact that we're having on each other and our world and our long term health, and the prognosis for our great great grandkids.
So, do you feel like you are living that world already? Or if not, what's stopping you?
I think for my personal self, I do live that way, and I feel like I kind of have an impact on a small community because, I constantly deal with people who are coming off of surgeries or coming off of opioids, or who have been living a lifestyle where they've constantly had to have injections. And so these are people who have been unhappy and they have anxiety because they don't sleep well. Because when you're in pain, you constantly go through this cycle of, hey, immobility, pain, you don't sleep, and then you can't be your best self. So when I'm helping people in my clinic and I'm helping people put their bodies back together, it inadvertently has a psychological and a spiritual effect, because obviously when you actually go from being in a point where on a scale of 1 to 10, when you're at 8, 9, 10 in pain, and then you come down to a 1 or 2, it's like all of a sudden you can breathe again. All of a sudden you can hear again. All of a sudden, you can taste again. Your senses are not so focused on just your suffering. You can actually have a conversation with somebody because you're not sitting there dreading every moment, or hoping that you can get another pill in you so you can be high as hell so you don't feel another instant of your pain. So, and I've lived that life where I was in the NFL and I constantly had to take painkillers because I was playing with a broken pelvis or a torn knee ligament, or just constantly for money. And even though I had glory, I had no peace because my body was being destroyed and I was constantly in agony.
It's so interesting from what you just said. There are so many people who choose to do things because they feel like in the moment, it's what I need because it's what society tells me I need. But the reality is you just saying that and being able to finally shift where you allow your body to do what it needs to do. You trust in yourself to take that journey that you feel is most close to your soul, your heart. I think that's a great point.
And like we were talking about before, I don't think I chose this life, but I broke my pelvis and I thought it was the worst thing that ever happened to me. But now I can look back and see like, hey, that was a pivotal point in my career where it forced me to completely change how I looked at how I took care of my body. how I was going to use my body for the rest of my career and for the rest of my life. And it exposed me. It made me seek out the people who could teach me how to use my body better, how to build my body better, how to fix my body. And it made me a practitioner. And now I'm helping so many people. And it's just this whole ripple effect in the way that I'm going to train. I've already got people working under me who are already talking about going into the health field that I'm in just because I've inspired them. So it's always a great thing to be able to have all of these things kind of come together and you see how the universe works together synergistically.
And it's so amazing to hear all of that happening came from one shift in perspective, one small shift in perspective that you had in that moment. And suddenly it paved a path of not only healing for yourself, but healing for many people to come because you are passionate now about that journey. I love that. I think that's fantastic.
And I think almost if you read everything, whether you read the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, there's always great examples of strife. And just when you think you're going through your worst moment, you find that's where your greatest strength comes from, that adversity and the whole journey of suffering and overcoming and then having faith in your ability to overcome that adversity, even when it's at its darkest moments. And then you come out on the other side and you're bigger, faster, stronger, and you're better because you're more formidable because now you have that spiritual fortitude that you don't get from any other transition. You got to go through the pain.
That was fantastic, dude. And I know that that's going to resonate with a lot of people because obviously different journey, but very similar thought process, and have that clarity because of what you said. That's what this channel is all about, perspective, which leads me to my final question. Life is about experience, right? Everybody experiences a whole different journey, and yet we always learn. So if you can understand that the world is about experience and the lesson that you learn from that experience, what would you say is the hardest experience you've ever had, but also the most educating and beneficial to you as a whole?
Probably the hardest experience I ever had was transitioning to the NFL because, you go from these complete extremes. I went from being a college athlete who's living off of $700 a month in the Bay Area to now I have, 7 figures in the bank. I now have an agent and I have a head coach and I have a team president and I'm walking in the locker room and I'm standing shoulder to shoulder with superstars that I dreamed about that, whether it's Randy Moss or Chris Carter or John Randall or, I'm now standing in this kind of like whirlwind of personalities, and that's not even talking about the media. And now every day I'm dealing with ESPN, and then you got the local channels, and you got the national media, and it's just kind of this entire barrage. And you have to grow so fast, and there's so many people coming at you from so many angles, and there's part of you that wants to be, you want to put your guard up, but then part of it is being vulnerable in the moment, kind of letting these people pick you apart. And, you don't know who's your advocate, who's your biggest fan, but everybody's just asking you all these tough questions all the time. And everybody's questioning your ability. Everybody's, wanting you to be better, be bigger, be faster, be stronger, to be able to score, make more plays. And you can't do it fast enough for anybody, and especially not for yourself, because, you want it too. And it's just like, to try to right size that in your mind as a 21-year-old who's coming into this world of, success, but also extreme pressure and extreme, like, kind of like you have to get things done. You have to get better every single day. And I don't think most people understand what that's like to walk into a profession where they watch you on film every single day, every practice. They watch you in the weight room. They watch you in the meeting room. And you have to know everything that's going on, whether it's your play, the guy next to you. And you have to be ready to stand up and jump into any situation and make plays. And even if it's not your play to make, you have to ask for it in front of the national media if you don't make that play. So it's a hard thing to transition going from being a boy. I mean, you're really not a boy, but at 21 years old, you're a man amongst boys. You feel like a boy amongst men when you step into the door in that arena for the first time. And there is no way that you're not going to take those shows. You're going to get hit in the mouth. You're going to go out there and you're going to blow plays, and you're going to have the media blow you up and talk about you, and you're going to have, even people that live in your neighborhood, fans that are going to talk crazy to your kids, and your people might look at your wife, and then you have the other side where you might make a great play and people are buying your groceries and they're mowing your lawn, and it's like this roller coaster of like, okay, people are what they are, things are what they are, and you have to live in a world where you don't accept anything from anyone, and you just learn to just like, listen, I can't ride the highs, I can't ride the lows, I have to stay even kill no matter what. I can't let my head get wrapped up in either war, the low moments or the high moments. I have to always put myself in a place where I had a good day, I had a bad day, and there'll be other days. And some days I just got to always try to make sure I'm trying to maintain a level of performance that's professional and acceptable, and I have to give myself room to make mistakes and give myself room to enjoy the highs and not let myself chill, want to blow my brains out just because things are, it was a terrible day today, And it's hard because some days it seems like the world is coming for you when you play a sport and you're in the national media every day.
So would you say that trusting yourself to be genuine, to stay who you were when all of those things were trying to shift you one direction or the other was something you may have learned from that?
Yeah, your mind castle is probably the first thing you must develop. And I think if you don't come in the league with a sense of your mind castle and basically how not to let anybody else steal your joy. I grew up in an environment where, there was an abusive parent in the household. There was an alcoholic in the household. Like I said, you have to learn, even when you are trapped in a household with people that are supposed to love you and care about you and take care of you, if they turn on you or they're in the moment where they're not in their right mind, you have to learn how to protect yourself physically, emotionally, spiritually. And I think instinctively, that's something I learned to do. I learned to, transition my mind to places that, even when I was going through times where I was in pain or somebody hurt me, I learned to kind of go into my mind castle and protect myself. But I know for some people, they never developed that in a lifetime. For me, I think it was forced upon me. And that's why I say, I don't know if it's God, the world, the universe, somewhere along the line, those lessons became indelible. And I was able to excel past most of my peers my whole life. Because when things got bad, things went wrong, I was always the person who was clutch in the moment. And it didn't matter if somebody was, having a medical issue and a heart attack, or there was a car accident and the car flipped 3 times. I remember getting into a car accident and the car rolling 3 times, and I got hit by a semi, and I was able to get out the car and get everybody else out the car and get everybody else to safety. I was always that person who in the line of fire, I was able to kind of always snap out of it and be that person that's like, let's go, instead of like, oh my God, what happened? Help me. That was never me.
Wow. It's really, it's funny because obviously a lot of people's journeys are different than what you talk about, but at the same time, the mentality that you had and what you were able to do and the skills that you got are so many things that people need in this world to be able to get through those experiences that aren't the greatest and enjoy those experiences that are in front of them that are the best that they could have. So, dude, that was awesome. All right, I've got one last thing, and it's simply the fact that imagine you have the world sitting in front of you right now. What would you say?
I would say, you got to be your own worst critic and you got to be your own best cheerleader. I think we kind of live in a world right now where, you hear all these messages and all these things are trying to imprint on everybody. It feels like there's all these movements trying to indoctrinate everybody, whether you're for guns, against guns, whether you're in this community or that community. There's all this indoctrination going on. And it seems like people have lost the will and the fortitude to go out there and experience the world for themselves before they make a decision. And, everybody's so quick to have an opinion about everything before they've had real experiences in multiple arenas. And I've been blessed that I've lived in Compton, I've lived in Edina, Minnesota, I've stayed in Beverly Hills at the Ritz-Carlton, and I've stayed in Roach hotels and Cockroach gang infested, tenements. So I've been around the world, and I would say, having experiences and put myself in rarefied places and spaces, I feel like that's what the world is missing. Everybody kind of huddled in these corners, and I know the pandemic has pushed us further apart and pushed everybody into these little kind of shell shocked way of thinking, and everybody's trying to protect their little 9 inches, and nobody wants to give an inch any direction. But we got to get back to the point where people understand that if you're not traveling, if you're not listening, if you're not growing, if you're not learning, you're destroying yourself and your community. We got to get out there and get out there and not be afraid to grow, and not be able to learn from somebody that you don't know anything about, and not be able to see things in people that you didn't think you could see. Because like I said before, it's about the unseen, it's about the unheard, it's about the things you can't touch. They're more powerful than anything that we know in this world. And we got to start with that. We got to believe in that first.
And that's exactly what this channel is about. You just embody that entire thing in that one statement. So, dude, thank you so much. You have given us such great insight and perspective that a lot of people I know will benefit from. And I just have to say, you're such an amazing guy. I'm blessed that you're my brother. And I will say, let's elevate.
Thank you, Brett. JC, man. You're my brother. And it's always a pleasure doing any work with you. Kiss the family and tell everybody I said hi.